testimony there from Roger Bonds, who obviously knows Diddy very well. He was his head of security for 9 years. What did you make of it?
Well, I think it would be important testimony if, as and when Mr. Combs is actually charged with any crimes. And I think he would be a powerful witness.
I mean, he gave evidence there of personally witnessing Diddy attacking Cassie, which we knew about this allegation, but also he revealed pretty alarming stuff that he witnessed of him attacking Kim Porter, who is no longer here. But that, I think, again, will shock people in the context of that video.
Well, let's put it this way. I do represent some victims or alleged victims of Mr. Combs, and what he testified to in terms of violence against women. It doesn't surprise me that he said it.
And Gloria, when you watch a video like that, as a lawyer who's been involved in many of those cases, it's a pretty open and shut case, isn't it? That this man is an abuser of women. I mean, it was so graphic, so shocking, so brazen, given it was taking place in a hotel corridor.
Well, it may go beyond that, Piers. The LA County District Attorney has said that this incident, which occurred in 2016, talking about the incident on the video, it's too late. It's statute of limitations. The time period set by law to criminally prosecute that in LA County, which is where it occurred, it's too late. However, we know that there are federal investigators, Homeland Security, that raided, based on a search warrant, both of his homes in Miami and in Los Angeles, and retrieved electronic material, among other material. For example, phones, laptops, other electronic equipment.
Let me get right into it, because as the days have gone by,
equipment. Those items may contain videos that your guest alluded to. We don't know. But the fact that there was at least probable cause to search both of his homes in a highly publicized raid leads me to believe that it's very possible that charges will be filed in the future by the Department of Justice against Mr. Combs. Now, what kind of charges would they be? Well, we know that from the Rkelly case, Piers, that Homeland Security was also involved in that. And that involves sex trafficking. And also there are possible allegations of Rico, which is a federal act. That's the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organizations Act. Was his business enterprise used in a way to facilitate crimes, whether it's drugs, whether it's sex trafficking, other crimes, we don't know. So there's also the Mann Act, which is transporting a woman from one state to another state for commercial sex purposes. You know, there's all kinds of possibility. Of course, it all depends on the facts that the government is able to prove, and in the prosecutor's estimation, prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So right now he's presumed innocent unless and until he is proven guilty in a court of law. And we'll see. One, is there going to be an indictment? Two, if there is an indictment, what are the charges? And we'll see what his defenses are.
Gloria, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I know you have to dash, so I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you very much. I want to bring in DJ.
Thank you, Piers.
Good to see you, Gloria. DJ Vlad, what was your feeling when you watched that video, first of all?
I mean, look, when I was on the show last time, you know, I had talked about an interview, well, a conversation I had with Roger Bonds, who I helped bring on the show today, where he talked about that basically there was abuse from both sides. But when I saw that video, I mean, it's just inexcusable. It showed a one-way attack. It showed a defenseless Cassie. It showed him chasing her, beating her, kicking her, throwing bottles at her. I mean, that's not something you could talk your way out of. It was just a horrific video.
And he'd obviously made all these sort of furious denials that he was guilty of any of the stuff that she had accused him of. And now when we see that video, it's quite clear that his denials in relation to anything to do with abusing her and committing violence against her were clearly complete nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, he put out the statement saying that all this was a money grab and a shakedown and so forth. And I'm sure some of these lawsuits probably are that, because there's usually a pile-on that happens. But in the Cassie case, it looks pretty accurate. And the whole thing about him buying the tape for $50,000 and talking about the actual incident was actually in the lawsuit. So the pieces are now fitting together.
Roger Bonds,
a lot of people who doubted Cassie.
I'm sorry. Yes, sorry.
Like a lot of people who doubted Cassie are now apologizing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of high-profile people came out defending him, casting aspersions over the claims that she'd made. But I think I would imagine there's a lot of regret from people that did that and believed Diddy.
Well, yeah, I mean, because at the time there was the actual raids, but there was no indictments. I mean, there was no charges. I mean, so you don't really know. Lawsuits, just because someone files a lawsuit doesn't necessarily mean that any of that actually happened. So a lot of people were skeptical. And look, Puffy is an icon in this industry. He's been around for decades. He's helped break tons and tons of artists. He's done a lot of, incredible things. But the video ultimately speaks for itself. The video is the video. And you saw him being the 100% aggressor. She was trying to get away from the situation, and he was just beating her over and over again. So anyone who really defended Diddy up to this point, I don't think there's any defense at all.
And the video apology, as Roger Bonds rightly observed, contained no personal apology to Cassie for what he'd done.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to the apology again this morning. Look, I mean, in terms of apologies, when you put it out there, some people are going to accept it, some people are not going to accept it. If you already don't like a person, you're going to find fault in the apology. An apology is an apology. He put it out there because he felt that it was the best thing to do at the time. But ultimately, when it comes to his future and when it comes to his actual criminal charges, if there are any, apologies really don't matter at this point.
Roger Bonds was also pretty shocking, really, in the way he revealed information about watching Diddy attacking Kim Porter, obviously his former partner, the mother of his 3 children, which certainly creates a sense of a pattern of behavior. And that is just what he witnessed, which is many years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I've interviewed people like Michael Jai White, who had hung out with Kim Porter before, and he would tell me about the arguments that Diddy would have. I think Diddy was in a situation where he wanted to keep people like Kim Porter around, but, he was living a life outside of their relationship. So there was a lot of conflict there, and there was, he never saw any violence, but he definitely heard arguments over the phone and so forth. So it's just an ugly situation all around, and it's just sad.
Can you survive
I've
it?
met Cassie before. Seemed like a very nice girl. I mean, this is the argument that people are having right now. When you look at the Chris Brown situation, I mean, it's very similar. There's no video, but there is a very bad picture of Rihanna with her face, bruised up and her eyes closed. And look, Chris Brown is still a megastar right now. I mean, like I said, there's no video, but Chris Brown's career definitely took a hit, but it continued to flourish after the fact. Rkelly, there was the tape with the underage girl, which ultimately in the new trial, you found out that the girl really was underage. Rkelly continued to thrive as a singer, had some of his biggest hits after that tape came out. People have a short memory. So it's really hard to say. It's really up to him and what he does at this point forward, whether he continues to put out projects or not. It's really very hard to say. Everyone's going to say that he's canceled and so forth, but my take is that unless you are put in jail or you're dead, you're not really canceled.
Right. 50 Cent has been very scathing about him. They've had a long-going feud, obviously. What do you make of that?
Yeah. 50 Cent's never really liked, 50 Cent never really liked Diddy. I interviewed Tony Yayo, who's part of G Unit, his right-hand man. And even when 50 was going for a record label, for a record deal, he said, listen, I don't like this guy, but let's just go ahead and meet with him and see what he says. So there's always been kind of a dislike from 50 against Diddy. So this is just kind of par for the course for 50.
There's another feud that's been getting everyone going, the Drake and Kendrick Lamar feud. For those who've not been following this too closely, can you summarize what it's really about and who's winning?
Well, the feud is pretty much over. There's really been kind of a long-standing competition between the two of them. They did a couple of songs together very early in their careers, but overall, there's been kind of what we call sneak dissing back and forth. I remember when I interviewed Marcellus Wiley, Drake came on his show and really dissed Kendrick really badly, and then had them pull the footage after the fact, and he threatened to actually not host the ESPYs if they didn't pull it. So there was some subliminal shots for years and years and years, but then when the song with Metro Boomin, Future and Kendrick came out like that, that's when Kendrick really kind of fired off at Drake. And basically there was a back and forth that kept going, but for all intents and purposes, when you talk to 99% of the people, they all say that Kendrick won. I think Not Like Us, when that record dropped, I pretty much put the nail in the coffin. Drake came out with The Heart Part 6, which was somewhat of a, trying to justify certain things. But at this point, I think the battle's over. And I think that once Drake's bodyguard got shot in front of his house, when you actually see real violence and it's really at his doorstep, that's when I think Drake really kind of looked at the whole situation and said, nah, I think I'm done.
Before I let you go, there was a New York Times bestseller, Morgan Jenkins, who took grave exception to your commentary on this, tweeting, "You are white. This is a black folk affair." Struck me as a rather racist comment, actually, DJ Vlad. What was your response?
Well, I put a comment that said that Kendrick Lamar, the mix on his song, Not Like Us, took away from the impact of it. Me being a DJ for 20 plus years and also listening to audio and video every single day, I felt that I was qualified to make that statement. Her response was that you are white, this is a black folk affair. I took offense to it, I don't agree with that comment. But then during the back and forth, I started to tag Princeton because she was a Princeton professor. And I felt I was actually wrong for that, and I publicly apologized. It was a back and forth. It was on Twitter. It should have just stayed on Twitter. So like I said, I apologized for essentially tagging her job and so forth, which I was wrong for. I was wrong for that.
I mean, it's very magnanimous of you, given what she'd said. But I mean, her general principle that white people shouldn't be allowed to voice opinions about beef in the hip hop world seems a bit ridiculous to me.
Like I said, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with her response. And I still stand on that. But, at the end of the day, my response was also inappropriate. So I apologize for that.
You're a bigger man than me, DJ Vlad. But great to have you back on Uncensored. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me.